The wind howled through the Montana pine trees as Tom Walker sat in his old wooden cabin, warming his hands by the fireplace. His loyal German shepherd, Rex, lay at his feet, occasionally twitching in his sleep. The life of a forest ranger was quiet, especially during the winter months when the tourists stayed away and only the hardiest wildlife remained active. Tom enjoyed these peaceful evenings, but tonight felt different. Rex had been restless all day, pacing by the windows and whining at nothing in particular. Even now, as the dog dozed, his ears kept moving, tracking sounds that Tom couldn't hear. Around midnight, Tom was about to turn in when a bright flash lit up the cabin interior like daylight. He rushed to the window, expecting to see lightning, but the sky was clear except for a strange, pulsing light that moved too slowly to be a shooting star and too quickly to be a plane. Rex jumped up, barking with urgency rather than aggression. The dog pressed his nose against the cold glass, his tail wagging in an unusual pattern that Tom had never seen before. Whatever was up there, it wasn't natural, and it was getting closer. The light began to spiral downward, leaving a trail of sparkling particles in its wake. Tom grabbed his emergency pack, force of habit from years of ranger training, and strapped on his snowshoes. Rex was already waiting by the door, practically vibrating with excitement. "You really want to check this out, boy?" Tom asked, reaching for his heavy winter coat. Rex's bark was all the answer he needed. The temperature outside was well below freezing, and their breath came out in thick white clouds. Tom clicked on his powerful flashlight, but it seemed dim compared to the fading glow on the horizon. He estimated the crash site was about 3 miles away, in the densest part of the forest. As they trudged through the deep snow, Tom's mind raced with possibilities. It could be a satellite, a military experiment, or something else entirely. The rational part of his brain told him to radio it in, but something about Rex's behavior made him hesitate. The dog wasn't just excited. He seemed purposeful, as if he knew exactly where they needed to go. The journey was tough. The snow was knee-deep in places, and fallen branches hidden beneath the white surface threatened to trip them at every step. But Rex forged ahead, occasionally looking back to make sure Tom was following, his eyes reflecting the flashlight beam with an almost supernatural intensity. An hour into their trek, the air began to change. Tom noticed it first as a slight tingling on his exposed skin, then as a faint humming that seemed to vibrate in his teeth. Rex's fur stood on end, but the dog showed no signs of fear. If anything, he seemed even more determined to press forward. They crested a small hill, and there it was. The crash had carved a clean path through the forest, toppling trees like dominoes. At the end of this path lay something that made Tom's heart skip a beat, a sleek, oval-shaped object about the size of a small car. It wasn't made of any metal he recognized. The surface seemed to shift colors like oil on water, even in the dim light of his flashlight. Rex approached the object without hesitation, sniffing the air and wagging his tail. Tom followed more cautiously, his ranger training warring with his curiosity. The object had no visible seams or windows, but as they got closer, he could see that it was damaged. A large crack ran along one side, and through it came a weak, pulsing light. That's when they heard it. Not a sound exactly, but more like a feeling in their minds. It was like music without notes, a pattern that somehow conveyed distress. Rex whined and pawed at the crack in the hull, looking back at Tom with pleading eyes. Tom knew he should call this in. He knew there were protocols for this sort of thing. But as he looked at Rex's determined face and felt that strange, musical distress call in his mind, he realized this wasn't the time for protocols. Someone, or something, needed help, and they might be the only ones who could provide it in time. The crack in the spacecraft's hull widened slightly as Tom approached, releasing a soft chime that made Rex's ears perk up. Tom pulled off his glove and touched the surface carefully. It was neither hot nor cold, but it vibrated gently under his fingers like a living thing. Rex barked once, sharp and clear in the winter night, and the entire craft responded. Colors rippled across its surface, and the crack slowly opened wider, forming an entrance just large enough for them to climb through. The dog didn't hesitate, jumping inside before Tom could stop him. "Rex, wait," Tom called out, but his voice died in his throat as he saw what lay inside. The interior was a single room filled with gently pulsing crystals of various sizes. In the center lay a figure that made Tom question everything he knew about life itself. The being was roughly human-sized, but seemed to be made entirely of translucent crystal. Light flowed through its body like blood through veins, but the glow was weak and flickering. Rex stood beside the creature, gently nudging it with his nose. Each time he touched it, faint patterns of light rippled through its form. Tom moved closer, his boots crunching on what looked like broken crystal shards scattered across the floor. The alien's light dimmed even further, and Rex whined urgently. Without fully understanding why, Tom knew the creature was dying. The alien's form shifted slightly, and patterns of light danced through its body, forming complex shapes that somehow felt like words in Tom's mind. The message wasn't in English or any human language, but he understood the basic meaning: help, cold, dying. Rex suddenly pressed his warm body against the crystal being, and the failing lights in its form brightened slightly. Tom quickly shrugged off his winter coat and laid it over the alien, but he knew it wouldn't be enough. The creature needed more than just warmth. The alien's lights pulsed again, weaker this time, and Tom felt rather than heard another message. Atmosphere, wrong, dissolving. He looked more carefully at the broken crystal shards on the floor and realized with horror that they weren't from the ship. They were pieces of the alien itself, slowly breaking down in Earth's atmosphere. Tom pulled out his phone and opened his weather app. The air outside was heavy with moisture from the recent snow, and the temperature was well below freezing. If the alien was dissolving, it must need different atmospheric conditions to survive. Rex barked again, drawing Tom's attention to a panel near the ship's entrance. It was covered in symbols that glowed faintly, and when Tom touched it, he felt a slight electric tingle in his fingers. The alien's lights flickered in what seemed like approval. Working purely on instinct, Tom pressed different symbols until he found one that made the ship hum. A holographic display appeared, showing what he guessed were atmospheric readings. Most of the symbols meant nothing to him, but he recognized the universal symbol for water, H2O, with a red X through it. "You need dry air," Tom muttered, more to himself than the alien. "Rex, stay with our friend. I'll be right back." Tom rushed back to his cabin as fast as the deep snow would allow. His mind raced as he gathered supplies. His dehumidifier, battery packs, emergency oxygen bottles from his rescue gear, and every packet of silica gel he could find from his hiking equipment. When he returned, the alien's glow had dimmed to almost nothing, but Rex hadn't moved an inch. The dog's body heat seemed to be the only thing keeping the creature alive. Tom quickly set up the dehumidifier, powered it with the batteries, and began placing silica gel packets around the alien's form. Slowly, incredibly, it worked. The alien's light strengthened slightly, and the crystal breakdown seemed to slow. Tom watched in amazement as the being's form became more stable, its lights pulsing in what he hoped was relief. Rex wagged his tail and looked up at Tom with pride, as if to say, "See, I knew we could help." Tom smiled and patted his dog's head, then settled in for what would surely be a long night. He had no idea what would happen next, but he knew that he and Rex had just become part of something much bigger than themselves. Throughout the night, Tom worked tirelessly to stabilize the alien's environment. He had wrapped emergency thermal blankets around sections of the ship's broken hull, creating a makeshift sealed chamber. The dehumidifier hummed steadily, pulling moisture from the air, while Rex remained faithfully by the alien's side, providing warmth and comfort. The crystal being's lights had settled into a steady rhythm, like a slow heartbeat. Every now and then, it would send out patterns of light that Tom was starting to recognize as attempts at communication. The most frequent pattern seemed to be one of gratitude, a gentle spiral of golden light that made him feel warm inside despite the cold. As dawn approached, Tom realized they couldn't stay in the damaged ship forever. His supplies would run out, and the makeshift seals wouldn't hold up long-term. He needed to move the alien somewhere more secure, but the thought of transporting such a fragile being through the bitter cold seemed impossible. That's when Rex started pawing at Tom's old hiking backpack. The dog grabbed it with his teeth and dragged it over to the alien, then looked up at Tom with meaningful eyes. Tom stared at the pack, then at the alien, and suddenly understood. The pack was lined with waterproof material and had a rigid frame. With some modifications, it could work as a transport container. Tom emptied the pack and began adding layers of insulation using the thermal blankets. He carefully placed the remaining silica gel packets inside and rigged up a small battery-powered fan from his emergency gear to keep air circulating. It wasn't pretty, but it might work. The alien's lights flickered rapidly when Tom approached with the modified backpack. Through their basic light-based communication, Tom tried to explain his plan. The being's crystals chimed softly, a sound he had come to associate with agreement. Moving the alien was the hardest part. Tom had to be incredibly gentle. Even a small crack could be fatal in the being's weakened state. Rex helped by guiding Tom's movements, somehow sensing exactly how to approach the crystal form. Together, they managed to lift the alien into the insulated pack. The journey back to Tom's cabin was tense. Every step had to be carefully placed to avoid jostling their precious cargo. Rex walked beside Tom, matching his pace perfectly, occasionally looking up at the pack with concerned eyes. The alien's glow remained steady, but Tom could feel a tremor of fear in the light patterns it emitted. Inside his cabin, Tom had already prepared a space. He cleared out his small study and sealed the windows with plastic sheeting. The room's electric heater would help maintain a constant temperature, and he'd set up multiple dehumidifiers. It wasn't perfect, but it would be better than the damaged ship. As they settled the alien into its new space, Tom noticed something extraordinary. The beam's light patterns had changed. Instead of the weak, irregular pulses from before, the lights now moved with purpose, forming complex patterns that danced across the walls. Rex sat nearby, his head tilted, clearly fascinated by the display. The patterns gradually coalesced into recognizable shapes. First simple geometric forms, then more complex images. Tom watched in amazement as the alien recreated a perfect light-based image of his cabin, then of Rex, and finally of Tom himself. Each image was formed entirely of intricate light patterns, as detailed as any photograph. Tom realized the alien wasn't just trying to communicate anymore. It was learning their language by creating visual representations of their world. When the beam produced an image of Tom carrying the backpack through the snow, he understood it was telling their story, recording what had happened. Rex barked softly at his own light image, causing the alien to produce a new pattern that somehow conveyed amusement. The crystal being's surface had begun to heal, tiny imperfections smoothing themselves out as its strength returned. The immediate crisis had passed, but Tom knew this was just the beginning of their strange adventure. As the first rays of sunrise filtered through the plastic-covered windows, they created rainbow patterns through the alien's crystalline form. Tom watched these colors dance across his cabin walls and wondered what other wonders this unexpected guest would bring into their lives. Over the next few days, the alien's method of communication evolved rapidly. The being, which Tom had started thinking of as star because of the way its light resembled the night sky, began creating increasingly complex light patterns. These patterns now formed three-dimensional images that floated in the air, telling stories and sharing information. Rex seemed to understand stars' language naturally, responding to different light patterns with varying barks and movements. Tom watched in amazement as his dog and the alien developed their own way of talking, with Rex's body language somehow perfectly matching stars' light signals. It was as if they shared a deeper connection that went beyond normal communication. One evening, as Tom sat in his study watching Star and Rex interact, the alien created a new kind of light pattern. Instead of forming pictures, the lights pulsed in a way that seemed to resonate directly with Tom's thoughts. He felt a gentle presence in his mind, not intrusive but welcoming, like a friend tapping on his shoulder. "Can you understand me now?" The thought appeared in Tom's mind, not as words exactly, but as a clear meaning accompanied by soft blue light patterns. Tom gasped, and Rex wagged his tail excitedly. "Yes," Tom thought back, focusing on the gentle presence in his mind. "How is this possible?" Star's crystals chimed softly, creating a cascade of golden lights. "Your companion, the one you call Rex, helped me understand how your species thinks. Dogs are remarkable beings. They bridge the gap between emotional and logical communication. Through Rex, I learned how to adjust my light patterns to match your brainwaves." Tom looked at Rex with newfound wonder. His dog had not only helped save Star's life, but had also created a way for them to truly communicate. Rex seemed quite pleased with himself, tongue lolling out in a happy dog smile. Through their new mental connection, Star began sharing stories about her home world. She came from a species called the Light Walkers, beings of pure crystal and energy, who traveled the galaxy studying other forms of life. Their ships were powered by their own bioluminescence, converting light energy into movement through space. "But I've never encountered anything quite like your relationship with Rex," Star communicated, her lights shifting to a curious purple hue. "On my world, we believe that intelligent life must follow logical patterns. Yet here you are, two different species, connected by something that defies pure logic: emotional bonds." Rex moved closer to Star, and her lights automatically adjusted to form playful patterns that danced around him. The dog jumped and twisted, trying to catch the lights, making Star's crystals chime in what Tom now recognized as laughter. "That's what makes humans and dogs special," Tom explained through their mental link. "We don't just connect through logic or necessity. We form bonds because we choose to care for each other. Rex stayed by your side when you were dying not because it made logical sense, but because he knew you needed help." Star's lights pulsed thoughtfully. She created a complex image showing different alien species she had encountered in her travels. "Most beings we've met either evolved to be purely logical, like my people, or purely emotional, like the gas giants of the nebula worlds. But humans seem to balance both." As if to demonstrate this point, Rex suddenly perked up his ears and growled softly at the window. Tom immediately went into ranger mode, checking the perimeter of his cabin with practiced efficiency. It turned out to be just a curious deer, but Star watched this interaction with fascination. "See," she communicated. "In mere seconds, you shifted from philosophical discussion to protective action, using both emotional and logical responses. This adaptability, it's extraordinary." Tom smiled, scratching Rex behind the ears as they settled back down. Through their mental connection, he could feel Star processing this new understanding about humanity. Her lights had taken on a warm, gentle glow that filled the room with a comfortable radiance. What had started as a rescue was becoming something much more: a bridge between different forms of life, a lesson in what it truly meant to be human, and an adventure that none of them had expected, but all of them were grateful to share. As Star regained her strength, she began sharing more than just stories with Tom and Rex. Through their mental connection, she started teaching Tom about the fundamental properties of light and energy that her species had mastered over millennia. At first, Tom thought she was simply showing him interesting scientific facts, but he soon realized it was much more than that. "Watch carefully," Star communicated one evening, her crystalline form glowing with intense purpose. She created a small sphere of pure light that floated between them. Rex watched intently as the sphere began to change colors, shifting through the spectrum in ways that seemed to bend the very fabric of reality. Tom felt a gentle nudge in his mind, guiding his thoughts toward the sphere. "Now you try," Star encouraged. "Reach out with your thoughts, just like when we communicate. Light is nothing but information given form. Tom concentrated, focusing on the strange new pathways in his mind that Star had helped him discover. At first, nothing happened. But then, ever so slightly, the sphere's color shifted in response to his thoughts. Rex barked excitedly, his tail wagging at full speed. "That's impossible," Tom whispered, but he could feel Star's amusement rippling through their connection. "Impossible is just another word for unexplored potential," she responded, her lights dancing playfully. "Your species has an extraordinary gift, the ability to adapt and learn in ways my people never imagined. What takes us generations to evolve, you can learn within a lifetime." Over the next few hours, Star guided Tom through the basics of light manipulation. She explained how her people used their crystalline forms to channel and shape light energy. But humans, with their unique neural pathways, could achieve similar results through focused thought alone. It was like learning a new language, but instead of words, Tom was learning to speak in photons and energy. Rex proved to be an excellent assistant in these lessons. The dog seemed to instinctively understand when Tom was struggling and would press against him, helping him focus. Star explained that dogs' emotional intelligence created a kind of resonance that made the energy easier to control. "Your bond with Rex acts as a natural amplifier," Star explained, creating intricate light patterns that showed the energy flowing between them. "The emotional connection you share strengthens your ability to manipulate light. It's something my people never considered possible. We always thought emotions would interfere with energy control." Tom managed to create a small light display of his own, forming it into the shape of a bone that Rex playfully chased around the room. The sight of his dog playing with a light construct he had created filled him with wonder. Star's crystals chimed with joy at their success. "This is my gift to you both," Star communicated, her lights glowing warmly. "Among my people, knowledge is the highest form of gratitude. You saved my life without knowing anything about me, risking your own safety in the process. Teaching you to understand and use light energy is the least I can do in return." But Star's gift went beyond just manipulating light. She showed Tom how to use the energy to heal minor injuries, to see in complete darkness, and even to create small force fields of concentrated light. Each new ability came with a lesson about responsibility and balance. "Your capacity for both logic and emotion makes you uniquely suited to this knowledge," Star explained. "You understand instinctively that power must be tempered with compassion, just as you use your ranger skills to protect rather than control." As Tom practiced his new abilities, with Rex always by his side, he realized that Star was sharing something far more valuable than just alien technology. She was showing him a new way of seeing the universe, one where the boundaries between different forms of life became less important than the connections they could forge. The light sphere he had created earlier still floated in the room, now pulsing gently in sync with their shared contentment. Tom watched as Rex played with the light patterns, and he felt Star's appreciation for these simple moments of joy. Moments that prove that sometimes the greatest gifts come not from advanced technology, but from the simple act of helping others. 2 weeks after the crash, Star's rescue ship finally arrived. Tom and Rex were in the cabin's yard, practicing their light manipulation skills, when the sky lit up with a spectacular display of crystalline formations. The approaching vessel looked like a constellation of stars that had broken free from the night sky, moving with graceful purpose through the evening air. Rex was the first to notice something was wrong. His ears flattened slightly, and he moved closer to Tom as 3 tall crystalline figures emerged from the ship. Unlike Star, whose light patterns were warm and inviting, these beings pulsed with rigid, geometric patterns that seemed almost cold. "My people are not used to dealing with emotional beings," Star communicated quickly to Tom. "Please don't be offended by their formality." Her own lights had shifted to match the formal patterns of her rescuers, though Tom could still feel warmth in their mental connection. The 3 new light walkers approached cautiously, their crystalline forms creating sharp, questioning patterns. They seemed particularly interested in Rex, who maintained his protective stance near Tom. Through their shared mental link, Tom could feel their confusion and slight disapproval. "You have violated several protocols," one of them communicated, their lights forming harsh, angular shapes. "Sharing our knowledge with primitive species is forbidden. They are not ready for such advancement." Star's lights flashed defensively. "These beings saved my life. They showed ingenuity and compassion that rivals any advanced civilization. They deserve to be recognized as equals." The lead Lightwalker created a complex pattern that Tom recognized as a sign of authority. "Then they should prove it. We offer them a choice. Join us among the stars as official ambassadors of their species. We can modify their forms to match our own, free from the limitations of organic matter." Tom felt a chill run through him. He looked at Rex, who whined softly, sensing his discomfort. The offer was incredible, a chance to explore the galaxy, to learn secrets beyond human imagination. But the cost. The process would remove the inefficiencies of emotion. Another Lightwalker explained, their patterns clinical and precise. "You would become pure beings of light and logic, free from the confusion of feelings. Even your companion animal could be elevated beyond its basic nature." Star's lights dimmed slightly, and through their connection, Tom felt her sadness. "It would mean losing what makes you uniquely human," she communicated privately to him. "The very qualities that move you to save me would be gone." Tom knelt down beside Rex, running his hand through his dog's fur. He thought about all they had learned from Star, not just about light and energy, but about the importance of being exactly who they were. He remembered the night they found her, how it wasn't logic that drove them to help, but compassion. "Thank you for the offer," Tom said aloud, standing tall beside Rex. "But we must decline what you see as inefficiencies. Our emotions, our bonds, our way of connecting with each other, these are not weaknesses to be removed. They're the source of our strength." The Lightwalker's patterns shifted in surprise. Star moved closer to Tom and Rex, her lights matching their warm, organic energy, rather than the rigid patterns of her people. "You would choose to remain limited," one of them asked, genuinely puzzled. "To stay bound to this single world." Tom smiled, creating a small display of light that danced between him and Rex, a skill Star had taught him. "We choose to remain human. And being human means understanding that true advancement comes not from eliminating our emotions, but from learning to balance them with reason." Rex barked in agreement, and the light display shifted to mirror his joy. The Lightwalkers watched this interaction with what seemed like fascination, their formerly rigid patterns becoming slightly more fluid. Star's lights brightened with pride. "You see," she communicated to her people, "they have mastered our techniques while remaining true to their nature. Perhaps it is we who have something to learn from them." The night before Star's departure, she presented Tom and Rex with a final gift. It was a small crystal, no larger than a tennis ball, that pulsed with a warm, familiar light that matched Star's own energy signature. "This is a communication crystal," she explained, her lights forming gentle patterns in the evening air. "It will allow us to stay connected across the stars. More importantly, it will let you help prepare your world for what's coming." Tom held the crystal carefully while Rex sniffed it with interest. "What do you mean, what's coming?" he asked through their mental link. Star's lights formed an image of the galaxy, showing Earth as a tiny point of light among countless others. "Your world won't remain isolated forever. Other species are already aware of Earth, and first contact is inevitable. But thanks to you, my people now understand something crucial about humanity." The crystal in Tom's hands began to glow, responding to his touch. Rex pressed his nose against it, and the light brightened further, creating a small display of playful patterns that danced around them both. "We had always classified species by their technological advancement," Star continued, her lights shifting to thoughtful blue hues. "But you showed us that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about maintaining balance between emotion and logic, between power and responsibility, between progress and preservation. Through their mental connection, Star shared images of her recent discussions with the other Lightwalkers. Tom could see how his and Rex's actions had challenged their rigid views. The simple act of helping someone in need, combined with the unique bond between human and dog, had sparked a debate that was spreading through their entire civilization. The crystal will also serve another purpose, Star explained. When other humans are ready, it will help you teach them what I taught you. But only those who show the same balance of compassion and wisdom will be able to activate its powers. Tom created a small light display of his own, intertwining it with Star's patterns in a way that expressed his gratitude. Rex added his own contribution by howling softly, creating ripples in both light displays that made Star's crystals shine with joy. As the sun rose on Star's last morning on Earth, her rescue ship humming quietly in the clearing, she had one final lesson to share. Her lights formed complex patterns that Tom now recognized as the written language of her people. "You asked why I crashed here," she said, her patterns forming a map of the local star systems. "It wasn't an accident. Something in me knew that this world held answers my people needed. I didn't expect those answers to come in the form of a human and his dog." The crystal pulsed warmly as Star prepared to leave, its light synchronizing with both her glow and the beating of Tom's heart. Rex pressed against Tom's leg, watching as their friend made her way to the ship. "We'll see each other again," Star promised, her lights forming a pattern that looked remarkably like a smile. The universe has a way of bringing together those who are meant to learn from each other. The ship rose silently into the morning sky, its crystalline structure catching the sunlight and creating a spectacular display of colors. Tom and Rex watched until it disappeared among the clouds, the communication crystal glowing steadily in Tom's hand. Later that evening, as Tom sat on his cabin's porch with Rex by his side, he held up the crystal and created a small light show just for them. The patterns told their story, a tale of an unexpected crash, a daring rescue, and a friendship that crossed the boundaries of species and space itself. Rex barked at the lights, adding his own energy to the display, making it grow and dance across the forest. Somewhere up there, Tom knew, Star was sharing their story with her people, teaching them about the power of emotional bonds and the strength that comes from staying true to one's nature. The crystal pulsed one more time, sending a message that needed no translation. This wasn't an ending, but a beginning. Humanity's first steps into a larger universe would be guided not by technology alone, but by the simple, powerful truth that Tom and Rex had demonstrated, that the greatest advances come from the heart as much as the mind.